Phantom Forces is dead. There's no beating around the bush anymore. There's no point in even talking about it. There's probably, everybody's made a video now. I'm late to the party because, you know, I have a job. Everybody working on the game was found out to either be a pedophile, defend pedophiles, or pretend like they didn't know what was going on. If somehow you've been under a rock lately and missed all of this, Strider has done a video where he covered all this, and it's a really big bummer because it was a game that I enjoyed up until they took the movement out back and shot it like a dog with rabies. And for me, ripping the band-aid off has been relatively easy, just because I've mainly been playing defense. Well, at least in my opinion, I feel like I've been playing defense of the game. Of course, I was more critical in some areas, more critical than other YouTubers were, but still I feel like I've been on the defensive trying to keep this game alive or trying to help new players out. But there's no helping it anymore. There's no coming back from this. Before we move on as a community, whether you're still reeling from this or you've been waiting for it for a long time, we need to identify why this happened and how we as a community are going to find a new home, or rather how we're going to be vigilant to prevent this from happening again. We must be vigilant from predatory developers that are going after children, recognizing these patterns going forward. Some of you, again, already know these patterns, but many of you do not. The noobs need our protection, even if they don't realize it. They need our help learning how to play the game, even if, you know, we may actually bully them in game. They still need our help, and definitely need our help to avoid predatory developers in the future. And then finally, maybe near the end of the video, we'll wrap up with just a couple ideas of where we could move to next. So why did the game die? Some of you, this is an obvious question. For some reason, it's still up in the air for some people. I really don't understand why, but just to be clear, it died because of bipolar balancing from a bipolar team. It wasn't because of a lack of direction. The community was very vocal, no matter what play styles the fans favored. The snipers said, we want this, and the movement players said, we want this. Really, there was no conflict between the two. There was no like massive civil war between the different playstyles going, oh, you need to nerf these guys, and the other, no, you need to nerf these. It never happened. Of course, the new players would have the same new player complaints that they always do, but like when we were starting, we got better, and it was their time to get better. Some might say that there was a lack of direction because of a rapid change in contractors, which again isn't the case if you watch Strider's video, because you'll see that these multiple contractors, quote unquote, were actually the same people just hired under different names, or the same people that were claimed to be fired or had claimed to resign, but were still working there 10 months after the supposed termination date. So there shouldn't be any reason why the balance was flip-flopping all over the place back and forth, because it was the same people making the same game. It wasn't because of any of those reasons. It was because the developers were mentally ill or dog shit at the game. Stylis contractors wanted to make a Sean Combs simulator and ban anyone that questioned the furries that were running the joint. Upon realizing that the wrong kind of 12-year-olds were playing the game, they tried to course correct by shifting the balance, hoping to get the more impressionable 12-year-olds into their Discord. It really is P versus C out here. They say, and when I say they, I mean like people who still defend the game on Reddit for some reason, despite everything, they say bad balance changes were to bring in new players, but that was a lie. If high-ranked players who loved the game enough to stay after the, the get good period and are now leaving, the new players won't stay either, because there's nothing to stay for. If you get good at modern Phantom Forces, what are you rewarded with? The most meta way to play is take an LMG, a sniper rifle, or an assault rifle, move as fast as you can to a camping spot where you can see the enemy spawn, and spawn camp. Whereas before, the stupid meme of a high rank fucking jumped at me at 300 miles per second. You know what? If they jump at you right in front of you, you pull the trigger. Who would you rather shoot? This guy? Or this guy way over there, right over there, that guy? Did you see him? Oh, you didn't see him? You're dead. Yeah, no, that's not fun. There are protections against toxicity and attempts to garner favor towards noobs who didn't know any better was really just stylists trying to get a few more kids groomed while they could instead of letting the game age gracefully, whether it be a harder road into prestige by listening to their constituents or a natural death of apathy. Some of you out there are either holding your heads in your hands or pumping your fists, relishing knowing that we told you so. I mean, I didn't, but you know what I'm saying. You told us before, and we didn't listen. Before I'd even started making Phantom Forces videos, there were those who tried to offer advice to new players and the dev team. Regardless of the changes at the time or whether or not there would be a fix later, large changes were implemented with only a short period of testing time, and criticisms were usually not answered unless they were from young noobs or a large, huge, overwhelming majority of the community, and even then still. Balance fixes that came later were usually far too late, minor, laughable, or pointless for one reason or another. Like almost entirely reverting a nerf that never should have existed in the first place years later, or taking a recently buffed item and nerfing it into the ground, as low ranks don't have the credits to pre-buy everything and assume everything they don't have is overpowered. It was always strange to me that the proper and full change logs that showed all these incongruencies are only mostly available from pastebin links in the Discord, with the exception of when Mar was first hired, but he seemed to stop posting those as soon as he started getting criticism, and Willow did for a short time as well, but they weren't as detailed and still kind of some details were left up in the air. Regardless, it was always weird to me that a majority of the actual hard data was only accessible in the Discord. Why were they never available on the Reddit page or the Roblox game page? I personally think this was to draw more children into the Discord, as many of them were already too lazy to watch movement tutorials on YouTube or didn't like the airs of seniority that they ascribed to high ranks in their YouTube channels. Oh, you're just a bully. You just want to bully noobs. And then they walk into the welcome arms of... Ugh. Anyway. Surely the devs know better than the weirdo tryhards, the noobs convinced themselves. Many of us here on YouTube have tried to help you despite what noobs think, and it's a hard truth to accept that not all games are easy or made for everyone, especially not PvP games, which by nature are competitive. Even if you're not playing at an esports level, they are by definition competitive. You are competing. You are going to have to put some effort in, even if that effort is watching a 5-minute video on how to press, let's see here, Shift W spacebar X. If you know how to spacebar W space X, try hard. Try hard hacker. That's you. You try chud. You try hard chug hacker. Incel chud hacker. That's you. But it's far past the point to be ignoring this any longer. Too many of you are walking into the lion's den of predators who tell you what you want to hear. Phantom Forces was a movement shooter, and our negligence turned it into a den of Roblox gooners. Now that we're all on the same page of knowing what to avoid and the patterns of these kinds of people, where do we go now? This is only a small list of games I want to recommend, and hopefully it'll grow over time, but I haven't found many games that scratch that same itch that Phantom Forces did. Number 1, Gunfight Arena. It's probably the easiest of the bunch here to pick up. The movement isn't the same as Phantom Forces, but is easy and fast. The characters are your personal Roblox avatar, so it's easier to make out enemies. There's not really any gun customization or outside of camo, so it feels like Arsenal on Call of Duty maps, but at least you get to pick what weapon you're using. You're not forced into playing gun game. Oh, there's also kill streaks, which makes it ridiculously easy to get 100 kill games. As far as I can see, there's no stat data, so you don't have to worry about being lured into a Discord to find out what's meta, because there's no way to track meta besides experimenting with guns. As of when I started playing this, the game gives you an M16A1 as a starting gun, which plays just as well as the one in Phantom Forces does. Also, in the Battle Pass, it gives you a gun at level 1 that is just as good with a larger magazine. If you want to turn your brain off but get that cracked old school Phantom Forces feel, this game has that in strides. It makes you as powerful as everyone else without having to level up to endgame. And hey, look at this. You get a free gun for inviting a friend. What a great way to advertise your game. Phantom Forces, how do you advertise? Oh well, back to getting 3 nukes in one match with a full auto Zip 22. Frontlines is one of the best offerings I have here in my list, but I have a feeling many Roblox players might not try it for the same reason I didn't for so long. It requires a beefier computer that most other Roblox games don't expect you to have. I could run Phantom Forces fine with a 1070 and had to upgrade to be able to play Frontlines. For longtime FPS players, the only problem I can see you having with this game is no detailed weapon stats and having no server browser. The MP5K is a bit rough as a starting weapon, and due to lag, sometimes it feels like you're being one-shot by other players. Once you unlock a muzzle brake and improve the accuracy, it feels fine. You'll be doing considerably more damage. You can't dolphin dive, but sliding and jumping in and out of gunfights feels satisfying. The attachment system is very detailed. On the M4, I had put a red dot on and forgot to remove the front post, so I couldn't see properly. Maybe there's a riser you can install so you can co-witness, but I haven't gotten that far in the progression. However, I could just swap out the handguard and the front post was gone. So, if you have a high-end PC, give this one a shot. Now, Adrenaline shows a lot of promise, but it's still in its early stages. The movement is very Phantom Forces-like, with its double jumps. But its slides are reserved mainly for descending staircases and slopes quickly. There are stat pages with detailed information and an attachment system similar to Frontlines, so leave a comment if you would want to see me make a series about which gun is the best currently. There are so few, it shouldn't take long to do a breakdown of every gun. For real Phantom Forces fans, you owe it to yourself to try this game. Siphon, while having interesting weapon design and fun movement, has terrible map design that doesn't lend itself well to its combat. There's only about one of the maps that I like, and even then there's no real point of rest. The damage model is fine, but it's just there's so many maps that are so wide open and so far spaced where it doesn't make any sense. If you're gonna ask the player to be that precise with their aiming, then you need to bring the targets closer. It's easy to say that, oh, well, you're supposed to use your movement to dodge and evade, but it's easier to dodge and evade when you have a more tight-knit map, more cover, more walls, a jungle gym, not just an empty space for you to fly through. In Phantom Forces and maps like Bazaar, you could vault all over things, all over the place, and parkour and whatnot, and that's how you'd survive those tight, almost straight hallways, because there was cover there. And so far, in only one of the maps for Siphon has that necessary amount of cover. Riotfall is a lot like Frontlines, where it's better in a lot of areas, but worse in some others. There's more weapons, easier progression, but the movement is a little lacking. However, it is a lot easier to make out enemies. If an enemy is within your intended damage range, it will highlight red when you're aiming at them. The last, and definitely most least, is Stalcraft. For those of you who like to still pretend that stylis didn't do any wrong and pretend like the movement changes were a good thing, despite heralding the death of Phantom Forces, this game is for you. A first-person MMO where PvP is camping with armor-piercing ammo and stealing gear from people who are better than you. Just like how Redditors play Phantom Forces. Since you're already used to leveling up slowly, the grindy weapon upgrade system is perfect for masochists like you that hate progression, just want to sit in the back of the whole fucking game. I love the art style of the game, and it even has a 6v6 arena mode, but only after progressing through some of the most ball-busting parts of the game. So again, perfect for people that have their heads up their fucking asses who think Phantom Forces is just fine. Oh. Besides that, still figuring out what to do with my channel. Should I stay with Roblox? There's not really any other first-person shooters I'm enjoying right now. Seems like the whole entire first-person genre has gone to shit. If you've made it to the end of this video, thank you. If you've made it to the end of Phantom Forces, thank you. If you've been subscribed, thank you. I've had a rough fucking year. That's how it is. I'll see you next time.